welcome to Torches of Truth podcast, episode 5, Using Your Talents in Evangelism. This is a topic that I've not seen a whole lot of people talk about, and so we want to talk about that today. Our get to know you question today is, what are some of your talents?
Thank you for asking. I like basketball and baseball. I like playing the guitar and drums. I like flying planes. I'm not quite that good at it yet. I like, I think that's it. What about you?
Writing, basketball as well. Reading, I love classic literature especially. And
Is reading a talent?
no, but it can be. I guess reading classic literature does take some talent because it's really hard to read sometimes. And then music. I like singing, playing guitar, and piano.
Okay.
Yep. Our next question is, so we're gonna never mind. There's not a question next. So we're gonna talk about the parable of the talents. So Keyan's gonna read that for us. Obviously, this is talking about money and not talent specifically, but I do think it's interesting that the word talent is used because in the same way that these servants that we're going to read about were entrusted with talents of money, we're entrusted with talents that we should use for God's kingdom. So, take it away, Keyan.
Matthew 25:14 through 30. Yep, I think it's right. Okay. For it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted them his property. 20 gave 5 talents, 2 to 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money. Now after a long time the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here, I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also who had the 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you've delivered to me 2 talents. Here, I have made 2 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. He also had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you'd be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow, and gathering where you scattered no seed. I was afraid, so I went and hid your talent on the ground. Here, have what's yours. But his master answered him, You wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown, and gathered where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has 10 talents. For to everyone who has more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away. And cast the worthless servant into the outer darkness. In that place there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
All right. So regarding that passage specifically, we see that one went and hid his talent in the ground. Why was the master so harsh with that servant in taking away the 1 talent he did have?
That's a good question. That servant was given a talent that he was supposed to use for God's glory, and he did not use it to benefit his master and to give him glory. As we see those other ones did, they were known servants of that master, so when they worked that hard, they brought glory to their master. But when we do not use our talents and bury our master's money, or the things that he's given to us, like the talents, like let's say that you're a good singer and you don't use that talent to glorify God, and then God's not that happy with those who don't use their talents to glorify him. That's why he's given you those things, to advance his kingdom and to show others how great he is.
Yeah. Because honestly, I think a lot of people have almost a false humility that's really a fear. Especially I feel like when it comes to musical abilities, with church, there's obviously a big element of music, worship, and I don't know how many people that we've heard of who either have the ability to play an instrument or sing, and they're like, no, I don't want to be on the praise team. And we're like, but you're good and you're a really solid Christian. Why don't you want to be on the praise team? And they're like, well, because I'm not that good. And they may not be Mozart on the piano, or they may not be some great Christian singer, but they're good enough to where they're not off key, they're on key, but then they may not be just like a pop star singer. And be like refusing to use those talents for God's glory is truly a sense of pride, because you're saying, well, my preferences are to not use this talent. And that's really a sin, because if God gives you a talent, then he wants you to use it in some way. He may not want you to pursue necessarily like a career in it, but he gave it to you for a reason. I'm obviously not going to be a great singer-songwriter, but I enjoy songwriting and I enjoy playing the piano, and I use those for God's glory at church.
Okay. So how should we use our talents in evangelism?
Yeah, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I feel like this isn't talked about a whole lot. I think it's just because people haven't completely made that connection. Like you hear like, well, you should do everything to God's glory, but sometimes evangelism isn't necessarily included in that. So there's a lot of ways you can connect your hobbies or your talents with evangelism. If you're a good singer, as I already mentioned, you can sing worship songs and things, especially if you have like friends over, then you can maybe do like, if you do like a karaoke thing, singing solid songs that have the gospel in it. If you're a good artist, drawing, like we said during, or we actually didn't release, but in the podcast that we didn't release, we said that like for Christmas, if you would draw some Christmas cards and then draw like a nativity scene and then give the gospel out in a card, something like that. Like I'm specifically referencing the arts just because I'm more of like an artsy person, but you want to kind of give some other ideas for people who aren't like artsy.
Sure. Sports. You can use sports to glorify Christ. We're going to the Dominican Republic in February for a missions trip, and the missionaries, the Johnsons that we're going to be staying with, they're setting up a basketball tournament in the town right next to them, and they're going to use that to share the gospel with people. I think you're going to have like a gospel presentation and stuff.
By the way, Torches of Truth will be going international because we're going to be doing some interviews there, so we will be back in February with some, we will have subtitles, and the Johnsons will help us translate most likely for that.
Yes, you'll probably see one of them, or two of them, translating with us, since we speak very, very, very
bad
minimal Spanish.
Yeah, very bad Spanish.
But I remember reading about one guy, his name was John. He works for a company called Big Life, and he went to different countries and he started baseball teams, and then he eventually started witnessing to his teams through that. So you can there's a lot of different ways you can do it. If you're good at aviation or something like that, probably most people. But I mean, like, even if you're like, you can use that career, you could start like a club or something, and you could share the gospel, hand out gospel tracts, things like that. So just whatever you're good at, figure out a way to use it for God's glory.
Yeah, and asking your parents, asking friends that you know that are solid Christians, be like, hey, what do you think my biggest talents are? If you can't like think, if you're like maybe not as gifted like with physical talents, like that you can do physically, you might be more like a mental person, like not crazy person, but like mental, good at mental things. And so you could just ask them, hey, what do you think I'm good at? And then if you're at school, you could maybe start a club where you do whatever your hobby is, whether it's like just chess, or if it's singing, if it's sports, if it's something like that. And then you can do that activity, and then you can he'd be like, hey, we're gonna have a short devotional before we leave, when we first get there, in the middle, whatever. I'd recommend in the middle just because then people are kind of stuck. So that would be something as an option. If you're homeschooled, inviting people over to your house, because you most likely have a lot of free time, inviting people over to your house to do an activity, and then talking with them about the gospel. Just the possibilities are endless. So ask your pastor, your parents, your friends, just get some ideas. Even Google sometimes it's smart enough to give you some.
Okay. So how can I guess we just did that.
Yeah. Okay. And then our other thing was practically, so like I said, making the time to do it, because I think a lot of times we feel like we don't have the time to practically use our talents in evangelism, but it's a lot easier than you think. Like, we've
If you're
I've
good
said
at
a
talking
lot.
to people and good in front of a camera and holding a microphone, start your own YouTube channel.
Yes, we would love that, to see more young people out there witnessing. Like, because that's another thing. That's another talent that people wouldn't think. Like, being able to make people at ease, like, that's a legitimate talent. Like, if you're good at, emotionally sensing. I'm not one of those people, but my mother is. Like, very good at, like, sensing when people are down or sensing when people are really happy. Like, going up to them and
I figured
just
you'd
talking
be
to them.
really good at that because you're the one that normally makes me feel down. No, I'm just kidding. She doesn't.
No, we have sibling teasing sometimes, but it's not serious. Most of the time. Most of the time. But, like, something like that, like...
That's what I tease her about.
Yes.
6, 7.
But, yeah, like, something like that. Like, that's a legitimate talent that you have, and it might be something you don't
Saying
think
6,
about.
7?
Not
I
that.
didn't know that's a talent.
No.
Nobody can do this as well as I can.
Not that. Talking to
No.
people. Talking to people is a talent. Trust me, it is. And just things like that, like things you wouldn't think of, and just make sure you implement that in your everyday life. So I know you don't like homework most likely, especially if these are teenagers listening, but I would
They'll be
make a list of different talents you have, and then just brainstorm, like, how can I use this in the next 2 weeks, month, something like that, at least one time. How can I use my talents for God's glory, but in a more specific sense, to share the gospel with friends, family, somebody on the street randomly, whoever.
Okay, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week. Torch of the Truth will be going international, just for the record. Next month, in the end of February, we will be releasing some videos straight from the Dominican Republic. So
Yes. Is that the 23rd, 24th? Through
there.
Yeah. Somewhere the week of February 24th into March, early March, I think.
March 4th, maybe. Yeah.
March 4th, something like that.
We're staying there for a week. That's all.
Yes, we'll probably release the videos sometime in March because I probably will not have time to video edit while we're there. But stay tuned for that. First time we've been out of the country in several years. What is it?
We could make a documentary.
We might.
Just paste all of these into like an hour-long thing.
We got some ideas going here. We shall see.
So, brainstorm.
Brainstorming sessions. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.